Hello and welcome to another episode of Lazy Wealth Creation. So today we are going to be talking about property as a vehicle to gain wealth. So before we start, of course, it's always worth giving us a like, subscribe, follow and share, because when we talk about this stuff, we go off on a tangent. I certainly go off on a tangent because I love it so much. So it's always good so you can get in touch with the latest episode or even look at our back catalogue. But today, we're going to be talking about a particular course called the Multiple Streams of Property Income, or MSOPI for short. And by the by, there's a book. That's it. It's by a fella called Kevin McDonald and Rob Moore. Now, full disclosure, they are part of the Progressive Property team. And why is that important? Because I've been educated via the Progressive machine. So there is a slight bias here from my perspective because it's actually been great for me. So I'm going to talk about it and try and do a warts and all explanation of what this is and why it's important for you in terms of gaining wealth, as best as I can, of course. So where do we start? Let's start first of all with property. The reason why property works so well for me as a way to gain wealth is, there's numerous reasons actually, but the first one is financial lending houses, banks, investors, they all understand property, okay? So if I ask you to lend me a £10 on the basis that this cup is worth £10, well, you may lend me £10, you may not lend me £10, because we don't really know the real value of this cup. If I gave that cup to my little boy, he might think, wow, this cup is amazing because it's my dad's brand. So he might think it's worth £1,000. How do you value a cup? Well, there's probably lots of experts out there that will shoot me down for this, but I don't know how to value this cup. It's probably worth £1.50 in a charity shop, for all I know. However, property is very different because it's an established asset class. That means that it's been around for a long time. People understand it. They know what its value is based on lots of different data points. There's a whole profession that is dedicated to valuing property called property valuers. Usually that would be a RICS surveyor, Royal Institute of Chartered Surveyors surveyor, who ascertains the value of a property based on lots of different data points. So when you come to finance a property, they will actually ask a surveyor to come out and say, how much is the property worth? Carl says it's worth £100,000. Property surveyor says it's actually only worth £20,000, or it's not worth anything because there's no kitchen and there's no bathroom, so it's worth zero. Oh my goodness me, you couldn't get a mortgage then. So the surveyor is like a way of telling a mortgage lender, a bank or an investor, actually the property's worth £100,000, like Carl says. But of course, they don't want to lend you £100,000 because that would be 100% loan. And that means you've got no skin in the game and there's a high risk to the lending institution that you might not pay it back. So usually 75% is where a lot of lenders are comfortable with lending the money out at, and obviously we borrow the money at that 75%, so we would get £75,000 back. Why is that helpful to know? Because let's say you've got a house that's worth £100,000 today, and you've held on to that property for now, say 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, whatever, you pick a time metric. Over the course of a couple of years, a decade or so, what will happen is the asset is, the house is probably going to appreciate over time. That's not a guarantee, and I'm not a financial advisor, just to be very clear. So you do need to seek your own independent financial advice. But the houses, they typically appreciate over time in value. That means they go up. And inflation also typically rises, which means the cost of things goes up as well. So you could end up, very likely, a house that was worth £100,000 back in 2025, in 2035 could actually be worth £200,000. What have you done to the house? Not much. But it's actually doubled in terms of real value. And then what you can do is you can refinance that property at its new value and gain 75% of that valuation back out. So where you did have £75,000 that you've taken out of that property, left £25,000 in as an equity, you've now got a position where there's £200,000 available of equity in the property in total. So you say to the bank, right, okay, I would like a 75% loan, please. So they say, right, well, that's £150,000. So they pay back the 75 grand you already borrowed on an interest-only mortgage 10 years ago. And now you're still left with £75,000 in cash. Plus you've still got 50k in equity in that property. Stop! Before you go any further, if you're enjoying this content, remember to give us a subscribe, a like, a follow, or a share. Every single person that clicks on those buttons, it means the world to us because it helps us reach more people and get people educated in how to get wealth the lazy way. The whole point of this is banks they trust property as an asset class. So it's a really easy way to borrow money if you have bricks and mortar property or land even that banks can understand and they can lend money to you from, and you can borrow that money from them. Why is this important from a wealth perspective? We always encourage, I personally encourage at least, for you to diversify your portfolio. And what that means is not just investing in one particular asset class like property or precious metals or art or businesses, but actually having a range of different investments that protect you, because something could go down. For example, gold and silver prices. Gold can go up dramatically. I think gold has gone up 60% since 2024 to 2025. 60%, that's huge. Is there going to be a downward trend on that? Maybe. I don't know. Lots of people don't have a clue. Silver is lagging behind, seriously lagging behind gold. And a lot of people, not me, but a lot of people are forecasting that silver is going to rise exponentially with gold in the next couple of years. For evergreen perspective, this is 2025. And I think at the moment, gold is worth approximately £27 per ounce at the moment. So it might go up, it might go down. I don't know, because I'm not a broker who specializes in precious. But there's an example for you of how you can diversify. Some people buy art. If you buy a famous artist like a Banksy or a Van Gogh, if you're really affluent, then that might be a really worthwhile investment because they tend to go up in value over time. Whereas if you bought a watercolor impression from a local street artist, it may not be as valuable because that person might not be recognized. But then if they do get recognized in 50 years' time, it could be worth tens of millions of pounds. Who knows? So diversifying your portfolio is quite important. But that brings me on to, give me a second, MSOPI. Multiple streams of property income. Now this book, actually, I read the book and was blown away by all of the different types of property that are available and the different strategies that you can use to make property work for you from a wealth creation perspective. What do I mean by that? Okay. So you could take a 3-bedroom semi-detached house in the middle of Manchester, and you could convert that property into a 6-bedroom house with multiple occupants. Okay? And it could be that you bought that 3-bedroom house for, let's say, £150,000. But by the time you've converted it to an HMO with 6 bedrooms and you've refinanced it, not only is it cash flowing £3,000 a month or £4,000 a month, and of that, your sort of net is going to be about £1,500 per month after the bills and everything are paid and the mortgage. But also the value of that property is no longer £150,000. It's now worth £350,000. And you think, oh my goodness me, so what does that mean for me? Well, it means at the end, the £350,000, you get 75% of that on refinance. You've paid back everybody that you might have loaned money from or borrowed money from. You might have some cash left over, and it's a cash flowing property for as long as you keep it for on an interest-only mortgage. So lazy wealth creation is about you not personally having to, go to work every day and work as hard as you possibly can to earn whatever money it is. Whether you're working for a £12 an hour job, or whether you're working for £100 an hour job, or whether you're £1,000 an hour of a job, you're still having to go, show up, turn up every day and do that work. The reason why we're talking about multiple streams of property income today is because there are so many different opportunities in property. And I can't really do it full justice in a whole podcast, because my colleagues and friends at Progressive Property, they actually run a completely free to attend MSOPI course, MSOPI. They have them in Peterborough and they have them in London every single month. They're completely free to attend. You do obviously have to pay to get down there and pay for your hotels, but the actual training is completely free. And what they will do with you is they will go through with you each different strategy. So it could be BRRR, which is your buy to rent or your buy to let landlords that most people understand. It could be HMOs, HMO conversions. It could be serviced accommodation, rent to serviced accommodation, commercial conversions, and it could also be deal packaging or deal sourcing. Lots of different strategies there. I'm not going to go through all of those in this particular podcast, but what I'm just trying to highlight to you is there's lots of different opportunities to make money from property. I've got a link in my bio just below here where access to the MSOPI course is completely free. If you click that link, you'll be able to attend free of charge. You'll be treated really well as a bit of a guest of honor. There's lots of people that are going to be there. It's a very exciting room to be in. And you'll get to learn about all of these different strategies in a lot more detail than I'm going to go through. So I would strongly encourage you, if you're interested in passive, well, probably passive isn't the right word, but certainly gaining wealth where you're not having to work every day, come into the office 9 to 5, that sort of wealth. If you're prepared to let wealth work for you in the background over time as well, this will be the program for you, completely free. Click the link below at the end of this podcast, and I look forward to seeing you there, because I'm sure I'll be on the same MSOPI. I try to go to as many as I can because I like to meet people and talk to them about property as an investment opportunity, of course. The other thing I will say to you, though, about MSOPI is the training course itself. It is a sales funnel. It is designed to get you to pick a strategy where you will pay for some additional training, which I have done the training personally. I have benefited from the training. So again, I'm sort of speaking from experience here. I did the BRRR. That might not be suitable for everybody, but it was suitable for me at the time. I've got colleagues who did the serviced accommodation route, and I'm now working in partnership with them. And that's the other interesting thing, when you're on these programs, you meet people and you actually make friends with these people. You keep in touch with them. Like, what strategy have you opted for? I'm doing the BRRR. What have you done? I've done the rent to serviced accommodation. What have you done? Oh, I'm doing HMO conversions. And you can all keep in touch, and you make these friends throughout your journey. I started in 2022. This, for an evergreen purposes, 2025. So, 3 years. And I got people I met in 2022 that I'm still really good friends with now. I got people I met who are business partners now. I got people I met who are investors now, who invested in us and in our businesses over the last few years, which has been tremendous for all of us. So would I recommend the MSOPI? Categorically, yes. If you're already on the lookout for training like this, that means you're not comfortable in the financial situation that you're in right now, because you're looking for something else, you're looking for something better, you're looking for a better way to do things. And in fairness, property is actually a really good asset class as a whole anyway. It gives real sense of purpose. It's something you can leave to your children via legacy, via trusts, which again, I'm not a financial advisor, but you should seek your own financial advice. But it's something that you could leave to your children and also use the tax efficiency system that is in place in this country. And for me, this is why I recommend doing the MSOPI, because that's like the start of your property journey. If you've never heard of how to invest in property before, or even if you think, you've got to have lots of money to get into property, that's crap. You don't. I started minus 45,000 quid. That's my property journey. And I've got other episodes where I've talked about that in the past. I talk about it at events. You can come to my PPN Liverpool event. By the way, PPN Liverpool, Progressive Property Networking Liverpool. If you want to come to that event, there's a link below to the tickets. If you want to come along, I think it's about 25 quid a ticket, and you'll hear me speak in person, and you can ask any questions, and we're a really friendly bunch of people who are all property developers, investors, sources, so that'll be really great to see you there, so please feel free to do that. I hope that this episode has been really useful for you guys. If you would like to know more, please feel free, attend the MSOPI. It's free to attend, but you do have to make your own way there, of course. And also, you can come to PPN Liverpool, where we will be talking about all things property and business every third Thursday of the month. So, click the links below, like, subscribe, share, follow, and I look forward to seeing you on the other side.